August 8th. What's that? No, it's not just some lucky number. It's not what you think. In fact, August 8th is the day to celebrate safe sport and the people working to make sport safer for all. Now, today I'm very lucky because I have the founding members of Sport Malaysia, the people behind the movement that's finally saying enough is enough. Welcome back to Sport Check. I'm your host, Julie, for today. With me, I have Datuk Yasmin Yusuff, Sarina Sundara Rajah, and Freda Liu. Thank you for coming, ladies. Now, some people may think that Sport is just about being nice to athletes or it's about being dramatic. It's not. In fact, if you've ever had to smile through trauma, or even been told to be toughen up, after abuse, you'll know this is way overdue, right? So now let's start blunt. Basically, there have been some troubling recent cases, like the ex-national para-swim coach allegedly harassing students, or the ex-basketball player arrested for misconduct with minors, and even on yesterday, basically for the record, August 7th, there was an ex-national wushu coach charged with harassing his student who was 9 or 10 years old, if I'm not mistaken. He was charged with groping the student's breasts. It's alarming, right? Yeah. So how do moments like these shape public expectations of accountability?
Well, today is Safe Sport Day, and on this day, safety in sports is not a privilege; it is a right. And yet, recent cases shows what is at stake. And these moments are not just headlines; they are also calls to actions.
Right.
And firstly, when these cases happen, it's a tragedy. And people are wondering, like, okay, if it's happening in sports, is it happening in my children's sport right now? And then it also, showcases that no one is above accountability. And cases like this, it's important that, there are, we take swift, transparent and clear action, and also to ensure that, and apply strong consequences, whenever boundaries are being crossed. So, yeah.
And I think I just want to add on to what that story of a 9-year-old, right? When a 9-year-old doesn't know what's right or wrong, someone in authority, right? And it's beyond sexual harassment. It's other things as well, whether they're being a bully, whether they're being abusive. And 9 or 10, you don't know what's right or wrong. And so I think this is something that needs to be talked about because parents need to be aware. Because what do we tell our kids? Listen to your teacher, listen to your what, right? So these are things that parents need to be aware and to be able to also share that with their kid. I'm just thinking of my son, and if he was younger, like if he wasn't told these things, and I wouldn't probably know how to ask or be aware as well until Sarina came out to me, told me about this whole concept about safe sports. Like, whoa, right? We're not even aware.
Right.
Yeah.
So you pointed out a really good point there, and I want to have a follow-up question with you. How do you communicate with your son in the conversation of safe sport?
So he's all grown up right now, and he wasn't very participative in sports. But even then, like sometimes when he had a tuition teacher and all that, right? Like, how did the teacher treat you, right? What kind of was there? Did he touch you? Did he whack you? All these things aren't right? They have no authority to do that. So, and you also understand that the conversation is different, age appropriate, right? Some things will be too difficult for them to understand. But the earlier you have this conversation, like, just simple questions. Did the teacher hit you in any way? Did he touch you in any way? Anywhere beyond, I guess, your hands or whatever. So this is the kind of conversation that we need to have, but we're not even aware of it because we always say, listen to your coach, listen to your teacher, right? Because that's what we've been grown up, right? Especially here in Asia, listen to authority and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
So if we're not aware of it, we wouldn't know to ask the right questions, right?
And the impact on children as young as that is much more far-reaching. Yeah. It's not a matter of, he did something, bad guy, punish him, and then things go well. No, that impact is going to stay with that child. Yep. And as he grows, he may not be aware of it at the time, but it will be part of his formative years. It will inform his attitudes, his opinions. So that's very dangerous, really, for a child's future, I think,
It's trauma.
Yeah,
that reminds me of a case a couple of years back about the volleyball coach.
Yes.
Yang tampar kan, dia tampar the
The girl.
the player
And it was
the
a very
female player dekat belakang
interesting
tu.
response.
Yeah.
Because you had the yays and the nays.
Yeah.
I
This
was
is the part
shocked.
where I mentioned earlier in our intro, toughen
Yeah.
up.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the parents were okay with it.
Yeah.
That was the...
Because
Okay.
most often, I mean, there is awareness now, but then most people don't understand what constitutes abuse.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, like you said, tough coaching. So when people, saw that happening in the
Maybe
court,
they just
so
call
they
it
thought,
punishment.
Yeah.
Right.
or they probably thought, okay, this is going to toughen up the players and
Correct.
they're probably going to perform much better after this. So they think, that this is allowed.
Yeah.
But as Datuk Yasmin was, she mentioned about, abuse happening in young age.
Yeah.
Because I coach rhythmic gymnastics, and gymnasts, we start as young as 3 years old. So at this tender age, most of
Right.
the girls, they're not, they don't understand what safe sport is all about.
Yeah.
And, they don't know how to speak up.
Yeah.
So that's...
I'm curious, right? Like you teach really young kids, and you want to be firm at the same time, right? Like what kind of things would you say to them?
Well,
Exactly, good
for
question.
For us, it's the language. I mean,
okay.
so
Of
we can
course,
discipline
yes.
the girls.
Very important.
But it's the language that you use, because I've come across. I mean, when I used to train in those days, it was different back then.
Yes.
And it was really harsh training methods. So
Right.
and now I just have to unbreak and relearn new ways of coaching under the safe sport method. So
Yeah, because you got to conform to the new age.
positive
Yeah.
coaching.
Conform to the new generation of athletes, so to speak. Now, that begs me to the question that I'm about to ask next. Now, with headlines shout trauma, right? Where does advocacy step in? Like, how has Safe Sport Malaysia responded to those specific incidents, or will be responding to those specific incidents?
Well, for us, advocacy, it's all about, steering the conversation into finding solutions. So, for example, like the Safe Sport Code. And at Safe Sport Malaysia, whenever, someone reaches out to us with a complaint or a report, we will try and, we'll read the report and listen to the case, and we'll try to guide them on the next steps. And that steps could be either emotional or procedural or legal. And we have on our team Shamsul Sulaiman. So he's a lawyer. So he would advise then, what is the next best steps or whatever legal options that are available.
I see. Now, do you ever feel that momentum will fade after the public attention moves on?
Well,
You're talking about after the public attention ends. Move on means it'll continue.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
so I think there is momentum there. You can't say it's all over.
Yeah.
As it moves on. Now, it's all about awareness, and when people know what exactly is wrong, then they can speak up. If they think, but if I tell, I won't get on the team,
Daripada nanti
you
okay lah
see,
tu, kan?
then it's different. Right?
We have most Malaysians tend to have that tak apalah attitude,
Yeah.
right? As much as we try to advocate, try to tell them, speak up, speak up, speak up.
We also
There are some
have,
improvements,
even though
right?
it's the modern age now, or 21st century, we still have that attitude of fear of authority.
Yeah.
Right.
We fear, we scare our children with kau panggil polis nanti or things
Because
like
we were
that.
brought up
you know?
that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the fear of
My parents
authority,
taught me to.
Yeah, I think
obey and
it's-
don't ask questions.
Exactly,
culturally
yes.
ingrained.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
So now, when it comes to Safe Sport, in your own words, right? You were officially established in 2022. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it's longer than that.
2022, right?
Longer than that. Yeah.
2021,
2019.
2019.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, really?
Time flies.
Exactly, time flies, and,
And look at all these cases.
and I'm still in the face of pre-COVID years, So now, in your own words, what exactly is Safe Sport for our audience out there who are not so familiar with what is Safe Sport? Dia tahu sukan tu selamat, but selamat in terms of what, Because something is all about. Some people think it's all about sexual misconduct. Since our current sports minister Hannah Yeoh launched the Safe Sport Code in 2023. They think about, a lot of people on the ground would think, oh, abuse physical. There are also abuse of power, right? There are also neglect. Oh, harassment, they think it's sexual, touchy, but harassment ada juga yang macam verbal harassment. That is also wrong, right? So you've broadened it to include emotional abuse, power abuse, bullying, neglect. Now, in your own words, what is safe sport?
Well,
In
it's
layman
not throwing
terms,
a javelin at anybody.
and it doesn't just cover national athletes, right? It covers all stages of athletes, and it's not just athletes, coaches too.
Students.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, basically, safe sport is about taking care, protecting the well-being of athletes in sports. In fact, it's not just sports. I mean, not just athletes, but everyone in sports, but especially athletes. And it's not just limited to sexual abuse, although that is,
that gets flashed in the papers.
Yes, the headlines.
Yeah.
But we have, physical and psychological and
Emotional.
and now also the digital space as well. I mean, kids these days, they have access to social media and mobile phones.
Which makes it harder for a advocacy group like you guys, like you ladies, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all online, is broader.
So you have the online abuse as well. So it's not just limited to sexual abuse.
Right.
And I mean, abuse can happen in different forms, and every form they have consequences, and it brings a lasting scar.
I see. Now let's talk about the origin of Sport Malaysia, how it all began. Did any particular story or incident that sparked your resolve? The founding president.
Yes.
No, I mean, for me, it was. It came from a personal space. It's my personal experience going through, training and competition, and I understand how isolating and also damaging abuse in sports can be, and I mean, all of us in Sport Malaysia, we come from different sectors of the society, but we all share the same conviction that Malaysia deserves a better, safe guarding and framework.
Right.
And we must look after our heroes, our future heroes of the future.
Right.
So that you hear all the stories and proven cases of how people who are abused when they're young become abusers when they become adults.
Right.
That's well known.
I want to turn it to, we talk about the sustainability development goals, right? So one of it is SDG 3, which is good health and well-being, right? And that is a right for every individual. So if you talk about sports, it's about good health, right? And if you don't have well-being, how are you then going to be, as a nation, if we don't succeed in this area, then you haven't met that goal as well.
Yeah.
And even equality in sports, right? Gender equality, that's SDG 5. So these are things that we need to look at, whether, like right now, of course, women's football has come about, but for the longest time, that wasn't the case.
Exactly.
Right? I think the only place where there was equality in how much they earn was tennis. That was probably the only place. Everywhere else, even that, right? But that's another topic altogether.
Yeah,
but
we would do another episode for that.
Yeah.
Good point, Freda.
Yeah.
Very good point.
So, since the start of the foundation, the association, so to say, was there any tension between building a formal movement and being seen as a dramatic or alarmist?
Oh.
Well,
Maybe only
Macam
by the
ada je the way Sarina looks at Freda.
maybe only by the perpetrators who say, oh wow, now there's a formal a movement or a formal structure that is actually going to take note and make some control or
Some pushback, perhaps.
I mean, there's always resistance, when you're trying to shift the system, because change can be uncomfortable, and especially when you're challenging, long-standing power structures as well, and culture. So, I mean, I've been a gymnast, I've been a coach, administrator, and now an advocate. And for me, this role is by far the most challenging role because, I mean, there's a lot of resistance when you start talking about abuse. And people assume that safe sport is all about attacking and shaming the sport, but
Right.
safe sport is about protecting the sport and the integrity of sports.
Yeah. It's
And
a
I
taboo
think
conversation.
and I think also, I'm not sure if it's universal, but certainly in Malaysia, we're very conscious of malu. And there's nothing
Peace.
wrong, and we cannot admit there's anything wrong because it will be malu for us.
Because-
I think that's very
yeah.
important.
Right.
Yeah.
The irony is the person is the victim. But why should you be malu to speak up or to make
Yeah.
a report? Because
Oh,
you
yeah.
should be
Yeah.
protecting yourself. You shouldn't be protecting the perpetrator.
Right.
The
But,
alleged perpetrator.
but wider society doesn't want to admit that we have such people in our society. You see? Yeah.
And you think it's such a, it shouldn't be anything that is so controversial, right? But the fact that you think it's controversial means that there is an issue,
Yes.
right? So I mean, if it's such a good thing to move towards, right? So that everybody can enjoy sports and feel safe in that environment and be happy in that environment.
Yeah.
So why should there be a pushback unless you got something to, you
Yeah,
know?
most of the people deny that there is an
Yes,
issue, and when
exactly.
when there's denial, then it's very difficult for you to even spot the red flags or and also you delay action.
So with that, how do you deal with such scenario, such situation? When you try to go to people and say, okay, sport is this and this, or when you try to convince a certain party that this is what we're doing, this is what we want for the betterment of the country, of the sport future.
I think if we're talking about betterment of the country, there are many, many people, companies, bodies, corporates, who are very supportive and who believe, this is the right thing to do. There are, right? We have met
Yes.
some, yeah.
Yeah.
What's that like?
I mean, it's encouraging, but when it comes to the sporting community, I mean, there's so much more to learn, and because I realized that advocacy in this part in Malaysia is still growing, but in elsewhere, advocacy is actually advocates are being celebrated for their contributions, and people are not afraid to speak up. But here, like Datuk Yasmin mentioned, that people are afraid to even admit we have such an issue.
I would like to think that we need to step back a bit we all have our platforms, right? Whether it's social media, what have you. I think at this point, a lot of parents are still not aware, right? Maybe we just start there. What's this whole, like the first time I met her, it's like, what's this whole concept of safe sport, right? I think we're still at that point of perhaps using our platforms to just bring up that there is such a thing called safe sport.
Right.
Education.
Education, awareness, right? We're still at this point. So the parents are also bringing it up.
Right.
And sometimes the pressure, it's not just authorities, but the pressure comes from the parents once they're aware. I think if you talk to most of your typical parents, I think they still don't know enough about safe sport.
Right. So we just need to keep on talking,
Yes.
keep on advocating for these kind of things.
And even
campaigning.
religion, plays such a crucial part. For example, in Islam, it's not just don't. There are explanations why, don't, because, and that's,
Yeah.
So I think religion also plays an important part. That's all about education, upbringing, social background as well, and family, how strong is the family connection within that social structure. Because if the parents just let the child go off with the coach, outstation, and
Yeah.
in a car with him
Yeah.
or her,
Yeah.
So it's very important for the parents to keep asking questions and stay engaged in their children's.
But sometimes the thing is, children, they don't know how to articulate certain situations. They don't know how to find
That's
their
why they
words
must
to.
be taught.
Right.
So parents also need to know how to read the cues in terms of even sometimes behavior, right? They would reflect in their
Exactly.
behavior.
Yeah,
Right.
and also for training environments to be open, because based on international best practice, training environments should be interruptible and observable. So parents are allowed to observe their children
Right.
training
Right.
and to see if there's anything that is going wrong.
Are there closed door?
I mean, they are, especially, where I used to train national team, we travel a lot. And so most of these places, our parents don't follow us.
Right.
Yeah. And nowadays parents are busy, so they'll just drop off their kids,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
that's it.
And hoping the trainer would take care of everything.
Yeah.
And then,
But then
Right.
I also face that kids, for them it's very difficult to speak up. And if you ask them how was training today,
Good.
okay
Okay.
lah.
it's either good, okay.
So throughout your years of advocacy with SSM, have you ever faced resistance from the coaches or the parents or even the young athletes themselves when you try to tell them that, okay, this is what's happening, or when you try to educate them that this is what you should do?
Well, I've definitely faced resistance, and it's not just from parents, administrators, and coaches, but even at the top level as well. But as I mentioned, because advocacy and safe sport is still, at the early stages
Yeah.
in Malaysia,
Right.
so there's a lot of awareness and education that needs to be done to educate people the importance of, embedding safe sport practices.
Right.
So it's not just, having a check box, to tick, but is to actually embed it as part of your culture in sports.
I was about to say the word culture. Yes, exactly.
Well, I know that one of the things to be talked about a lot is that we want to move it beyond a code,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Can you tell me more?
Well, of course, I mean, our advocacy was to advocate for independent reporting mechanism, which is the Safe Sport Centre, and then the Safe Sport Code, but eventually is to have a legislation, a Safe Sport
Right.
Act.
Speaking about that, now in conjunction with the World Safe Sport Day, how do you think Malaysia has measured up globally?
As I said, Malaysia is still in the early stages, and I mean for
Maybe just Southeast Asian region, the ASEAN
good?
region.
Who's good in Southeast Asia? Singapore.
I'm not going to say
Okay.
anything.
Oh, where? I guess where are we?
If it's a good
getting
example,
where are we
then
getting
yeah.
examples from?
Yeah.
Where are
But
we benchmarking
globally,
ourselves?
I do admire the USA Sport
Okay.
Center
Right.
because
they
following
speak up.
following the Larry Nassar's case in 2017, where you have hundreds of gymnasts who came forward, with allegations of sexual abuse, and after that, the Safe Sport movement just took off. And now the US, they have enacted the Safe Sport Act and also the
Right.
Athletes Empowerment Act in 2018 and 2020. And and they also have an independent reporting mechanism. So if you were to ask me if I admire any global practice, it'd be the US Safe Sport.
Okay.
Somewhere closer to home would be ada. So far, not to that extent yet.
That level of maturity yet?
Right.
Not
A
yet.
couple of years ago, we had a town hall with the Minister of Youth and Sport.
Okay.
It was women's sports, and it was everything from, I don't know, aqua to golf to every sport, and all the associations were
Right.
there from all over the country, and we were actually very united in what we wanted, and we also had very common issues.
Okay.
Every sport from track and field to basketball to netball to
Yeah.
swimming, everyone had, and these are all the leaders of all the associations in the country. So that was very interesting, and that everybody actually came forward and spoke about it and didn't hide it, and that was, I think, what led to this Safe Sport Code, or it was something to do with
Right.
getting more feedback from all the associations.
Right.
But it was sad in a way because obviously it's so common. It's so common everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere.
But-
I mean, this is just wushu and swimming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That
What
have
else,
spoken up.
right?
What else? Track and field also we know, definitely.
But like you said, 2
You know?
years ago there was a meeting with the minister, which is a good start. I
Yeah.
mean, it's always a good start somewhere. It may not be terus a Safe Sport Act or a
Right.
legislature about it, but at least we're starting somewhere, and it has already created conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually,
Bit by
people
bit.
got quite heated up.
And
also.
it requires a lot of hard work from Safe Sport Malaysia
Yeah.
too, to do more advocacy
Yeah.
work and campaigning, right?
We
need
keep the
to-
conversation
Yes,
going.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, and
So-
we need to work together as well with
Yeah.
legislation, and the authorities, so that we have important, valuable
Right.
input, and they are the executors or the enforcers. So that's everyone needs to work together.
Yeah.
So for our audience out there, in case you're wondering, Sarina was mentioning about the Larry Nassar case, the US gymnastic abuse harassment case. I think the documentary, I'm not sure whether it's still available on Netflix. Athlete A. Ada lagi
Yes, it is still there.
Okay,
It's a must. Yes.
So just to give you a context, a comprehensive context of what Say Sport, where Say Sport came from, the US. So Athlete A is a documentary on Netflix, in case you're wondering. Please be curious and watch it. It's absolutely brilliant. Right. Now we're talking about reporting now. We're talking about the media. So let's segue into journalism, right? And what role do you see for journalists when it comes to this? Like beyond breaking stories, but to keep the pressure alive, so to speak.
And beyond Sports Day.
And beyond Sports Day, yes. It's
Like
not just
today.
one day. It could be a week, a month, yeah.
How has the wushu coverage been? It's quite out there. But yeah.
But I mean, I feel, I would love to see more collaboration and, with the media and the advocates as well to keep the conversation alive, especially after when the headlines have faded. But
I think they should also delve into the background and the research and speak to everyone, not just talk about the perpetrator and the victim, but the parents, the friends, the other people on their team, all that, because all that builds a story and gives us information, So that, I think the media really could do that.
Yeah, and then I'm just thinking what could keep the story alive would be what to do, right? I mean, to teach people what to do, and if we have to, I'm sure, if you want to keep the conversation alive, if you don't hear something in Malaysia, I'm sure something is happening around the world, right? Yeah. And to highlight this is happening, right, around the world, wherever, and then keep that conversation happening, and because we don't want the stories just to be Malaysia and be excited, and then we forget
because it's happening everywhere.
Yes,
it's more or less the same story, different people, different script, right?
Yeah.
But before that, I mean, we want to thank the Scoop as well, because the Scoop has been very supportive since day one in supporting the Say Sport movement. I mean, they've highlighted a lot of our work and the stories that needed to get out there, and so we owe it a lot to the Scoop. To you and the team as well.
We're part of a bigger picture.
Yes, and I mean beyond just breaking headlines,
Thank you.
I think investigative reporting is also very important, because that's exactly what happened in the Larry Nassar's case. So there was this team, a small team of journalists who actually took the initiative to investigate further about Larry Nassar, and eventually they found out that it is a systemic issue in USA gymnastics. And then the Say Sport movement. So beyond just headlines as well, because we do not want to just create fear. We also want to highlight what are the positive changes that have been made. Highlight those stories.
I think people need to get angry, because in Malaysia, people react, and they get angry, and then they all go and do something. Any issue.
So rather than reactive, they need to be
and realize that this is wrong, and then they'll do something. But if you just do it as something that happened to somebody else somewhere else, then it's it's the way they report, I suppose. Journalists are very,
so it's better to be proactive than reactive.
So to speak. And then like the importance, I feel like what preventative measures, right? To teach people, and then obviously if there was some budget or whatever, right? Then with children in different categories, how do you teach them? So someone as a young child, the conversation is different, but they got to start knowing what it is, right? So then then that process, so that takes education, that takes money, right? So
and I think it should be regular.
Yes.
Regular.
Yes.
Not just on Safe Sport Day.
Exactly.
And then it should also be part of the the policies as well, especially at the grassroots movement. I mean, for example, in gymnastics, it's an aesthetic sport, so we are not just judged by our performance, but also our appearance. So maintaining our weight is very important. And I mean, back then I used to be weighed maybe about 4 to 6 times a day.
Whoa.
And and each time when we gain just 100 gram, we'll be forced to run outside until we lose that
That's
extra
why I was
weight.
never a gymnast.
The water weight.
So I mean, but now I'll give you an
That's serious
example.
sport.
Like British Gymnastics, right? So now they've actually implemented this policy where the coaches are not allowed to weigh their gymnasts unless the weight is being taken by a medical practitioner and for medical reasons as well.
So these are the things, right?
Yeah.
That safe sport, right?
Yeah.
So,
Right. See,
my
So,
goodness.
so it's not just physical harm,
Right.
but so it's very
Self-esteem, all
Yeah.
that,
Yes.
self-respect, yeah.
yeah, because in the long term, it will traumatize the athlete.
Of course.
Once they grow up.
In life, you
Yeah.
have forever this
Exactly.
body dysmorphia.
I mean,
Oh my
because
God,
there's a lot of
100%.
research, especially following the White Review, and so that's why the British Gymnastics implemented this, because they found out through many gymnasts that they were forced to starve themselves, and eventually they have
Bulimia,
anorexia.
Yeah. Yeah, it has health complications.
Yes.
For that short-term goal
Yes.
to achieve.
PTSD, man.
Exactly.
So I mean, I understand that most parents understand that this is part and parcel of being
Success.
in gymnastics.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you're taking weight, what are you actually looking for?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Now, with that, what advice would you give to athletes, parents, coaches, anybody involved in it, that who think that this isn't happening here?
Be aware. I think, and to me, education is the foundation of everything. Education is the foundation of life.
Yeah.
And you have to start there. It can be part of the curriculum in schools. Why not?
Right.
In your PE classes or your civics classes or whatever they have nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
when people think that this is not happening here, I mean, I am sure that this is what the people in those places, they thought that that abuse took place, that it would never happen.
Yeah.
But for me, prevention is much better than actually being sorry after the harm is
Yeah.
being done. Yeah, and for athletes is to learn to speak up, because I understand growing up as an athlete, if you speak up and you're afraid of losing
Your place.
opportunities,
Your place.
Yeah.
You get
opportunities,
benched.
right? And then for parents, if you speak up, then they'll be labeled as troublemakers.
Yes.
And even for
There
coaches,
are some of those parents, though. But anyway,
but I
That's a
mean, even
different
for even for coaches, when they speak up, there are also repercussions as well. But it's to be aware, and also to take proactive measures as well. Read up, because there are plenty of resources online. I mean, I would encourage to just go on even the US Sports Center on their website. It's very comprehensive, and you will find even parents, you can actually take like a short safeguarding course for
Right.
parents, and
Oh,
it's just
really?
between 20
Yeah.
to 30 minutes.
Oh, that's
In
great.
fact, they have courses for every stakeholders, the athletes, coaches, administrators, even volunteers as well, because I realize that some of the cases that happen also involves volunteers that is not part of the ecosystem.
Right.
So,
Where's that course available again?
sorry.
Where's the course available again?
If you just go on the website, you will find it under education and training.
Sport USA.
The US Safe Sports Center.
The USA Sports Center
Yeah.
punya website.
So there are
okay.
plenty of courses that you can take, online. Yeah.
Right.
And just to learn. In fact, they have a very good, a very comprehensive handbook as well for parents to identify changes of behavior.
Oh.
Yeah, in their athletes, and what kind of language and questions you can ask, so that your children become comfortable and start to open
Freda
up.
has something to say.
ChatGPT. What sort of questions should I ask my 5-year-old so that I know that he is safe in sports? I'm sure.
Mesti
Right?
ada banyak
I
punya.
mean, so thank God for resources like that right
Yeah.
now. But you've got to ask the right questions, and if you don't
Yeah.
go for these courses, I'm sure the
Yeah.
kind of information is available.
Yeah, and we shouldn't assume that it's just male coaches and female athletes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
football is huge for
I did
abuse.
you-
Really. I mean, the young boys and their male coaches.
Right.
Yeah.
And how they show them up in front of the team and, and knock them down. Yeah. it's
I
huge.
remember one of the earlier story I wrote on Safe Sport. He was a former swimmer when he was very young, right?
Yeah.
He was harassed sexually,
Yeah.
abused sexually in the locker room after training,
Yes.
in the pool also.
Yeah, he
Ada
was-
dicari-dicari.
Yes, he was forced to give
Yeah.
oral
Yeah.
sex.
Yes,
to his
exactly.
coach.
Even when
Unforgivable.
he was when the team went overseas for regional competitions, dalam hotel room pun the coach
But he
would take
wasn't the
advantage.
only one, right?
He wasn't the only one.
one.
He
Yeah,
was the only one that spoke up.
yeah.
Yes.
Because the coach,
Okay.
it's so alarming. The coach kept on telling the boys, "You don't tell your parents; they're not going to believe you. They will think you're you're just complaining, and then you'll be out of the team." That kind of threats that the coach will be telling the athletes,
So
and especially
parents
they're
need-
young.
Yeah, parents
And so,
need to understand limits.
and they're boys. They're all
Yeah.
boys. Male coach and
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
male athletes, young
So
male
you
athletes.
think they're
So
safe.
the coach will be
Authority,
exactly.
control.
Yes,
So
right.
it's very
So that's
important
how-
to establish like clear boundaries as well.
Yes.
So when it comes to communication, international best practice as well. When it comes to communication, like for example, my gymnast. Coaches, we are not allowed to communicate directly with the gymnasts because most of them are below 18, so they're still considered minors.
Oh, okay.
And most of them have mobile phones. So sometimes, they would drop me a message to say, "Oh, teacher, I'm running late for class." But now that we have come up with a policy that we are not allowed to interact
I see.
directly unless their parent or a guardian is present.
Or in a chat group.
In a chat group, it's just the parents. Unless the parents specifically ask, for one of their older child to be part of the communication. But as long as you have the parent there, then yes.
That's
So
good.
it's- But
So
Yeah.
broad, right? The whole thing
Yeah.
behind safe sports, right? Is so broad.
It is.
And it's for your safety, it's for your well-being, your mental well-being, your mental health, all these things, right? That's important.
and also travel, because we read most of these cases where it happens when they're traveling. So I understand, my girls are so young, so some of their parents would travel, and is to also have to inform the parents of what is going to happen and who are these girls are going to sleep
Right.
with, and then to have consent given as well.
Yep, exactly. We don't want any of those untoward incidents to happen.
Yeah.
But I think what's lacking
Unexpected
here is
things.
consent.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a very interesting conversation. Like, I think I would want to go on and on, but let's keep it short and simple for the viewers to catch the point of the story, right? To be educated, to be aware, to be
Well,
curious.
I hope after this they'll go and do some research
Yeah, yeah.
Dengar tu.
and think, wow,
Yeah.
is that really happening?
Watch the
You might-
Netflix episode,
Yeah.
the show, huh?
Athlete A.
Yes,
Ini dah macam
absolutely.
like somewhat
Okay.
promoting Netflix pula. Oops.
Oops.
So anyway, what's next on the agenda of Say Sport Malaysia? Any campaign coming up that you all are thinking of organizing or already, in the pipeline?
Well, for us, now it's all about scaling and sustainability as well.
We're
And,
actually having a meeting right after
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Talk about our next plans. Call us next week.
Dah
Next
dalam,
episode.
but,
dah dalam kumpul sini kan, might as well just go out and have a meeting.
but we are currently looking to secure funding and also to on the lookout for
Yeah.
partnership as well. So it would be lovely
Right.
to connect and also partner with the corporate and also
There you go.
international agencies,
Call
including
to
the
action.
Wink,
I
wink.
think if companies are corporate sponsors look at this as something under sustainability and it's something that they have to put in their ESG report. This is would be something under social that you can put your funding into, and it'll be something that supports. If it connects back to your business. That's something you think about as you're preparing for your budget or you have extra budget.
But there are many corporates in Malaysia who actually sponsor a particular sport.
Yes.
Can we say their names? No, but you know who does badminton, you know who does alcohol, you know who does squash,
Right.
you know who does tennis or swimming, you know who does golf.
Yeah.
So we already know that they already
Yes.
have their chosen sport.
Yes.
So I can't see why they would not be interested and why they would not see this as as an important part of their whole branding and sponsorship, right?
Listen to Dato'.
See, they wrap it up all the call to action nicely for me. My job is done. Okay, thank you so much for watching.
CTA. Okay.
No, but in fact, safeguarding has reached a point where it's every major tournament
Right.
must have safeguarding present.
Yes.
A safeguarding officer. And
You
also
volunteered as a
safeguarding
safeguarding
practices.
officer during the Junior World Cup
The
hockey?
yes, yeah.
And how was that like? Before we wrap it up, just wanted to know. Just how was that like?
It was definitely an interesting experience because so I was engaged by the International Hockey Federation, and it was my first experience being a safeguarding officer, but in Malaysia. I must say, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, especially on the awareness level, because most of the athletes and, in fact, the management as well, they didn't quite understand what safeguarding was all about.
I see.
Yeah.
Training. Yes.
Training.
All right.
Workshops, yeah.
Yes.
So there is that. I think that's
there's it,
mainly
yeah.
why we need the funding, because we need to do this properly structured,
Right.
officially, so it becomes something that's a responsibility and something that can be,
Nationwide.
and something that can be actually followed through.
So I do wish all the very best to
Thank
the
you.
Safe Sport Malaysia team. I hope the next year, maybe on the next World Safe Sport Day, we'll have more positive outcomes for the past 1 year since this conversation. I look forward to that. More programs, more campaigns, and let's keep the conversation going because, like
Thank
I
you
said,
for giving us the space.
my pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Freda, Sarina, Datuk
you,
Yasmin, for
Judy.
being here. Thank you for your time throughout the traffic and everything and the rain.
In the ring.
All right. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.